Everybody, welcome back to Algebra 1. Today's edition, we are finding an arithmetic sequence. That's right, not arithmetic, arithmetic. So if we're given, we have 300, 250, 200, 150, is this arithmetic? Well, yes it is. Why? Because we have a common difference. Common difference? Yeah, common difference. A common difference means that I am adding or subtracting each time. And so this particular time, in order to get from one term to the next, we are subtracting 50. So our common difference, or D, is equal to negative 50. Now, what is a sub 1? Well, a sub 1 is 300. And a sub 3 is 200. What is that? That's right. This is a sub 1. That is a sub 2. This is a sub 3, that is a sub 4, and so on and so on. So we call that a sub 1, 2, 3, a sub 4. All right, what would be the next three terms? Well, what would come after 150? Well, if I keep subtracting, the next number would be 100. And then the next number would be 50. And then the next number would be 0. So if I keep doing this over and over, I just keep taking 50 away. All right, well, let's take a look at this problem. Given 26, 36, 46, 56. Is this arithmetic? Yes. How do I know? Well, this time my common difference is I'm adding 10 each time. So D is equal to 10 because I'm adding 10. All right? So the next question, what is a sub 1? Hey, that's right, 26. What is a sub 3? Hey, that's right, 46. Because this is a sub 1, that is a sub 2, this is a sub 3, that is a sub 4. And now we're asking, what is a sub 0? Wait a minute. What is a sub 0? I want to know what this term is. Well, if I'm adding 10 each time this way, then what happens when I go back this direction? If I go back and I subtract 10, then that's going to tell me that my a sub 0 is 16. 16. So a sub 0 is 16. All right. Now, what would the next three terms be? Well, after the 56, if I keep adding 10, then I would have 66, and then I would have 76, and then I would have 86. Okay? Now, what if I want to know the 15th term? Now, this is where this kind of gets a little interesting. Well, let's think about this. What is a sub 0? A sub 0 is 16. Okay? Now, what is my common difference? My common difference is 10. What am I doing? I'm adding 10 each time. So X. So if I turn this to a table, what you should notice is that this is my 0 term. This is 1 to the whatever. This is the second term, which is 36, 46, and so on. So if I want to find 15, I just type in 15, and it tells me 166. All right, I got a couple more examples for you, so let's take a look at those two real quick. Okay, the next example, given this sequence, okay, what would be a sub 10? All right, well, first you need to figure out is how is this counting to begin with? And hopefully you can determine that D is equal to negative 3. In other words, we're subtracting 3 each time, okay? Well, what I need to know is I need to know what is a sub 0. Okay, well, if I'm subtracting 3, then to go this direction, I need to add 3 real quick. And in order to add 3 to 35, well, that's going to be 38. So a sub 0 is 38, and that's important because we're going to take the 3, or the 16 where this was, make it a 38, and then I am subtracting 3 each time. So here is my sequence, right? 0 term, my first term, my second term, right? We could label my first term, my second term, my third term, my fourth term, right? And so on. Now, I want to know what the 10th term is. So in order to find the 10th term, I'm just going to take this and hit 10, and that tells me 8. So The 10th term in this sequence is 8. That's a lot easier than adding this till 10 more times or 6 more times. All right, what is a sub 50? Well, for this one, we need to do the same thing. What does d equal? And then what is a sub 0? So in order to answer this first, I need to find out those things in order to answer this. So d is equal to, what am I doing each time? Looks like I'm adding 7, right? So if I'm adding 7, then what would be a sub 0 if I were to subtract 7 to get here? If I subtract 7, that's going to be 13. So I know that this thing begins at 13. Okay, and I know that we're adding 7 each time. And so there is my sequence. This is making sense once I have my 13. And so here's my sequence. There's this 0th term, first, second, whatever, so on. And if I want to know the 50th term, we just type that in, and that tells us 363. All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll check you next time. Have a great day. Word.